Everything appears to be going.
All
Good.
systems
Okay.
normal.
Are we live?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
It's a bonus episode. You know
It
who
is
we are. It's Alice. I am Alice. Also joining me are.
My name is Alice Caldwell Kelly.
That's right.
I'm also actually all Alice Caldwell Kelly.
That's right.
This Cerebus-like monster is going to teach you about rallying.
That's
if
right.
one of us leaves the podcast, two will grow back.
Yes, and what we're guarding the gates of today is a particular circle of hell called Group B Rally Sport, an example of which you can see here with this hatchback like sliding past a couple of guys wearing double denim, which should give you like a clue about the time zone that we're talking about. We're going to the fucking 80s, to the early 80s.
Check out my guy in the yellow windbreaker.
Ooh, yeah, what a fucking pimp. I mean, just a lot of outfits going on here. I want to like really appreciate everything going on.
And some
here.
of them are wearing masks. Little
yeah,
harbinger of the future to come.
I know, right? Well, I like the guy like right here. He's got the denim shirt and the denim pants.
Yep, Canadian tuxedo.
The Canadian tuxedo, yep.
And I appreciate. Is the guy to his right wearing like a Union Civil War kepi? It really looks like it because I've never seen a baseball cap with a shape that fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he marched here from Georgia.
Yeah, exactly right. Having won the Civil War, he wanted to go catch some Group B.
That's right. So, in order to talk about this, we have to go back in time. Next slide, please.
Cue TARDIS sound effect.
Back to more guys wearing masks now that I think about it. But this is a car. It's bad. However, it's an old-timey car.
Doesn't need AC.
Yeah, and as you can tell it's old-timey because it's in italics, like the whole image.
Yes.
I was about to say these wheels look a little slanted.
No, that's good camber. That's good camber. That's for handling.
Into the direction you're going for extra speed, and you have a guy with you wearing a gas mask and a deerstalker with like a leather blanket thrown over his legs. And you just hook yourself to an internal combustion engine. And because this was a new technology, you could just do whatever the fuck you wanted, right? If you had a car, because it was a rich people thing, most people didn't, nobody could stop you from doing stuff. I mean, what are they going to do? Chase you on a horse?
Find where there's like a stair in the road that the horse can go up and the car can't.
Oh, you spooked, you dumb asshole.
In the continuing Doctor Who theme, it's just like chasing, getting away from a Dalek.
Yeah. So like
find the stairs.
The early history of cars, of automobiles, is ANCAP paradise, right? If you can afford this thing, no laws, no rules, no road signs, but like no license plates, no speed limits, nothing. And because these are all rich European freaks, the only thing that they love more than like running over children with these cars is gambling. And so,
yes.
What if?
No drunk driving laws either.
No, that's true. Plus, you could do a lot worse than drunk driving. This is the point where like everything still has laudanum and opium and shit in it. You could just get some cocaine eye drops, just stick a few of those in, and run the de Dion Bouton down to the fucking coast.
That's to mitigate the effects of the drunkenness.
Yeah, you have to like it much like the car.
In all things, balance.
Yeah, much like the car, my chemistry is a finely tuned machine.
Actually, I think I drive better when I'm a little buzzed and also on cocaine and heroin.
And laudanum. Yeah, they call it a speedball for a reason.
So, pretty much like car racing is a thing as soon as like the second car is a thing. But you have these rich weirdos gambling on it, and that drives it to ever more intense heights. Next slide, please. Now, we talked about this on the Le Mans episode, but as you may guess from the bottom caption, terrible accident d'automobile. This is in France. We're in France.
Yes.
And we're again talking about...
You can see all these people out here
That
coming out their
policeman
house
is
and
not
saying,
doing
"Mon
much."
Dieu."
Arrêtez-vous! Arrêtez-vous! Well, they did. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Just absolutely going flying. It's awesome. So
All these guys flew right over the gate, and then they got run over by a train immediately. And then they got run over by another train.
Oh no.
And then a steamroller ran over them.
Yeah, the racing
And then
car
the third
viscera.
train came through.
Yeah.
And then a boulder fell on them.
Stay tuned for Roz's second stint as an Indiana Jones villain.
So we're
You gotta
again
make sure they're really dead.
again talking about the Paris-Madrid race of 1903, because like you race point to point, like first and foremost. There's not really like loops or circuits or anything, and you have these cars which now they have huge engines like we saw, but like with no body at all, and like basically just wagon wheels and two guys in the back on dirt roads. Nobody's driven this fast and on this much cocaine before, ever. And it's anarchy. Like, this isn't that much of an exaggeration. I think 8 people die.
Yes.
Dozens of people injured. There's crashes every few miles.
How many cars were in the race?
Oh God, I mean, I don't even know, but like they didn't make it to Bordeaux, let alone Madrid.
No, they were forced to stop the race.
Yeah,
And they
that
had
one
to restart
cop,
at the French border, I think.
yeah, manages to stop them. They called it the race to death.
Roz, 200. There were 88 cars in the heaviest class, which was 650 to 1,000 kilos. 49 between 400 and 650 kilos. 33 voiturettes under 400 kilos, and 54 motorcycles.
Jesus.
So 224 at the start line.
Yeah, I was
Things get
hoping
worse
it
from
would be
there.
like I was hoping it'd be like 8 cars or like 7 cars entered, and they managed to crash 8 of them.
Just stealing some guys. Chauveau, we need this. More effort.
I am
You understand.
Monsieur, I am commandeering your automobile.
So, like, out of
It
this,
is needed for the glory of France.
That's right. So, out of this slapstick, we get a rare thing. The kind of political moral panic, the kind of hysteria that we could do with having again, which is all of these like National Assembly guys in the French Parliament get up and say, all right, we got to ban cars. It's like
They say it like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and speed limits and all that stuff.
yeah,
as well.
Pas de voiture. Absolutely not.
What's your what's French for numbtag?
yeah, we're just like we have to pedestrianize all of our cities, and the cities are just all entirely horse driven by this point anyway.
Well, in fairness, I mean, Paris is making real great strides right now towards just that under socialist mayor and what's her face.
Hidalgo.
And
Hidalgo,
Hidalgo,
yes.
yeah. So, like, I don't know, maybe the 3 French people are making a wireless show about this at the time called Voici votre problème. But what this
Still in the game, Roz.
But what this means is a lot of racing on public roads full of like cows and farmers and trees and stuff is now illegal, right? And this is the beginning of people building tracks like to race cars on. What I have here in the notes is that both NASCAR and Formula One ultimately get their origin from what I describe as le smashy smash grotesque de la voiture.
Oh yes,
Imagining
the world's
a-
finest motor race, Le Smachi.
Just imagining a French version of myself struggling to pronounce English words.
I love the idea of like
a cow crash.
turn of the
crash.
century Roz frantically twiddling his mustache as he's trying to start a two-stroke.
So like circuit racing has its own set of problems, and you can listen to a whole free episode about some of those.
You idiots paid for this.
Yeah, that's
or you
right.
stole it.
You paid for this or you stole it, which leads us to next slide, please. The things that didn't make it to circuit racing. So
Safety.
yes, but also
Nice.
crucially. So racing.
Yes, rallies.
Rallies. Why is it called a rally? Because it's point to point. So what you do is originally you like throw up a flag at the point where you want people to drive to. There's no set starting point, and you rally to get to that place. And because racing cars on the roads is illegal, highly illegal, except in like
You've got a license for that.
except in Italy where there are no laws. How do you get around this? Well, it's a very like I love this. It's a very prohibition kind of vibe. You just say, well, we're not racing. Yes, we are driving very fast, and yes, we're driving to the same place, but like it's not for speed. We're testing the reliability of our cars to science.
Yes.
There's a guy with a stopwatch there. He's timing how fast we can drive, but like it's not a race.
Stop shooting at us.
Yeah.
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah. please stop these Tusken Raiders from shooting at us. It isn't a race. It isn't a race. It isn't a race. It's a rally. It's something different. I'm allowed to do this. And it becomes this kind of national prestige thing, especially for like small countries like Monte Carlo, which is a lot of twisty roads, to be like, yeah, we have this like national rally sport event where we just let people drive really fast on the roads, and maybe they kill a few people, maybe they don't. It's no big deal, but it's not racing, because racing would be unsafe.
Yes.
Next slide, please. Le grande bureaucratie.
Oh, Le Cirque du Logan.
That's
Oh
right.
yes.
So this is the Hôtel de Crillon, which
No, that's the Free Library of
it's
Philadelphia.
the Free Library of
Yeah.
Philadelphia in Paris.
Yeah.
And what it is this is a big building that makes ideology, and the ideology that it makes is this isn't a race. It's not a race. It's not a race. It's not a race. Stop saying it's a race, because this is the headquarters of what's called the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile. Or
Jesus Christ.
yeah, the International Car Federation, the FIA. And they develop this set of rules about what makes a rally. So what makes a rally? What is a rally as opposed to a race? Well, trait 1. The cars don't all start at the same time. There's not like a starting line when you like race off together. You're competing against a clock, not each other. Trait 2, you drive over like these really difficult, technical, twisty, bullshit European roads, and you have these penalties for mechanical faults or any number of other things. And a lot of people get really crazy with these penalties. Like I think there was one rally in Italy where a British car finished without ever getting a penalty, and their response was, "This will never be allowed to happen again. We will change the entire thing to make it so that you cannot get through this without being docked some kind of point somewhere for something." And then trait 3, as like cars are becoming more popular and as people are driving for like non-crazy rich person reasons, you have this idea of what a practical car looks like. And you start saying, okay, well, rally sport is something where the cars have to look kind of like a normal road car. And we've seen in the Le Mans episode as late as the 50s, and well, still now, in fact, you can just put an engine on shit and hope for the best, and it goes flying down the track or above the track or whatever. This like has to vaguely resemble a car, and those are the constraints, right? That's what rally is. Next slide, please.
Just to explain the joke from earlier, if people didn't get it. This is Para buildings here, the Hotel de Crillon, whatever, and then and next to it is the Hotel de Navy, which is an identical building, and these were like built in the 1760s, right? I'd study this in my architecture history class, and what we did in Philadelphia is sometime in the early 1910s, is they needed a new building for the free library and the family court. And they just decided to copy these buildings in their entirety.
Yeah, this is Philly, bitch. We don't care.
Can you like cross out the French flag on the top and like draw in an American one real quick?
Or the 4133 flag.
Yeah.
What is that other flag on the top there? Is that the FIA's flag? Do they have a flag? God, that's so
I assume they must have a flag. Why is it a pit? It looks like a sad toy robot.
Oh, it really does.
Yeah.
But the FIA is really depressing anyway as an organization.
Oh, yes.
And that's what we're going to talk about, which means we have to talk about another extremely French thing. I'm sorry for like front loading all of the French shit this time.
I'm not mad about it.
Oui, oui.
Oui, oui. Say bonjour to Jean-Marie Balestre, who is on the left.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
The only time Jean-Marie Balestre has ever been described as being on the left of anything, but he is on the left of this photo. And this Operation Gladio looking motherfucker, this Bond villain, is most famous for his sort of decades-long war with other rich pervert on the right here, Bernie Ecclestone. Liam, do you just want to go off about Bernie Ecclestone for a bit?
I actually kind of admire the guy because he's so shitty and he's so unabashedly like, I control F1. I simply don't care. Spectre Bond villain levels of like corruption. Like it reminds me of when was it FIFA? All those execs got busted.
Yeah.
And they all got frog marched out and wherever they were.
Switzerland.
I was just like, you miss Bernie Ecclestone.
You do.
Like, you miss
really
Bernie.
do. He wouldn't have let it happen.
There's a video of him just like turning around in like whatever like not knowing how a revolving door works. Like if you combined like if you really combined like what's his name, the villain from James Bond, the really famous one.
Yeah.
Blofeld, but also like the villain from every Austin Powers movie, you'd get pretty close to Bernie. And it's just he continues to just like I don't know if he's ever had a cognizant thought other than he's probably come up with some way to shit money.
Look, motorsport guys are like crocodiles. They evolved this way 7 million years ago. They're perfect for what they do and they're never going to change. And like, I think this combination of like excellence at corruption and venality and just total absence of anything else, you only find it other than this in American football coaches and owners.
One of our old roommates used to have his Facebook profile cover image, a sort of cutout of Bernie Ecclestone on a blue background, and then it was the Bernie Sanders logo next to it. Yeah.
Bernie would have won.
Oswald Mosley's kid would have done a great job as prime minister.
Yeah,
and he said something about Hitler was really good at getting stuff done, and just like.
Which is objectively not true.
No, it's not. It's like when people say Mussolini made the trains run on time. They already ran on time just fine.
Yeah. So these two guys, Jean-Marie Balestre
these are some bastards.
And Bernie Ecclestone, these bastards, they have a genuine like decades-long war for control of Formula One. Because Balestre forms FISA, which is the motorsport like sub-bit of the FIA. And Bernie Ecclestone also has his like organization, which is called FOCA, the Pfizer-Fokker war, like it goes back and forth, it goes back and forth and back and forth. And it's just like, this is just what motorsport is. It's like old rich fuckers doing absolute Borgia shit to each other. It's still like this.
Foka?
Yeah, Fokker.
Foka?
Fokker.
Foka D's nuts?
Oh,
Fokker D's nuts. Genius.
So if you're looking for like a job on a podcast, we have 2 vacancies available now.
No, we don't. We have 4 vacancies available now. I'm gonna pull a Top Gear and quit in solidarity with Roz after he slapped a producer.
Yeah, we're doing a new like soy flavored. Well, there's your problem now.
Well, wait, I'm the producer. Do you mean I slap myself?
Yeah, you gotta.
Hey, what you do on your own time?
So like
Oh my God.
I mean, you mentioned.
Oh, don't be like that.
You mentioned Bernie
salty
Ecclestone
snail.
being a bit of a fascist or a crypto fascist, allegedly, right?
Crypto is being a bit generous.
Now, I mean, listen, not to just throw the accusation of fascism around everywhere, but like, far be it from
Motorsport is littered with these guys.
far be it from me to speculate, next slide please, about the early life of a Frenchman born in 1921, but he's wearing an SS uniform there. He was in the SS. He was in the Waffen SS. Yeah, so...
Well, that's a pretty good indication you might be fash.
Yeah. Well, like he had an excuse for this, Balestra did, which is that he was in the Resistance. Undercover, infiltrating the SS for the Resistance, and all of the people who could prove it had been killed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That sounds like it's not worth a second glance.
I was about to say,
they gave him the Legion of Honor for services to France in '68.
Oh my God.
Look, Jean-Marie Balestra died in 2004 because he's an old dead bitch, but like he genuinely, when he was alive,
cause of death, old dead bitch.
Cause of death, Nazi hunters, I hope. But like when he was alive, he would absolutely
Mossad got him.
would absolutely sue you for like trying to reproduce this image of him in his Waffen SS uniform. Now, I mean, I throw this out as like an open question: as why do fascists gravitate to motorsport and cars and stuff? And I think it's something about modernization and like Italian futurism and shit. But like, I don't know. National prestige.
National prestige, I think, has a bunch of it.
Yeah.
We can do the motorsports better than anyone.
Yeah,
I think
right until our cars lift and go flying along Mulsanne.
I was just flogen Auto.
I think it's because cars are the other half of the equation of home ownership, in that it turns everyone into just, these sort of unrepentant monsters and fascists. And just, a complete atomization, so on and so forth.
One of the
in service of reactionaryism.
One of the big the first big mass Nazi organizations in Germany was the National Socialist Motor Corps, which you had to join to drive a car. I mean, read Gravity's Rainbow, I guess.
So what I'm hearing is that AAA is fascist.
Now, I'm not gonna say that, but you can.
Yeah, well, we don't have libel laws over here, so I can just do whatever I want.
That's right. Yeah. So this is the guy, fucking this Sturmbannführer over here. Why is there just a helmet on that table, by the way? Like, they're not going to use that. Anyway, this is the guy.
There's 2 helmets.
Oh, yeah. So there are. Anyway.
That's 2 helmets too many. What we're saying here is shoot the Nazis.
Yeah. Everyone in that picture has
shoot Nazis.
A wholly different cursed face shape. But like they're all fucked.
Master race.
They all look like different Bloodborne character generator presets.
Especially Jean-Claude Van Damme here in the middle.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. But Jean-Claude Van Damme is in charge of, amongst other things, pretty much all of how rallying works. About which we're going to talk. Next slide, please. We love a callback, don't we, folks? Don't we love a callback to previous episodes?
Only the Polytron reduces an entire mouse to a soup-like homogenate in 30 seconds.
So foam reducing generators.
So what we're gonna...
I hate it when mouse foam gets in my face. You know, it like overflows the glass. You know, you get a real freshman pour from your mouse homogenate.
Yeah, what you've got to do is you've got to do the Guinness pour, where you like pour some of the head of the like mouse homogenate and then wait and then do some more.
Isn't that a function of the tap handle, though?
Yeah, I think so. And then they had to like introduce a kind of gadget into the cans to like try to mimic that. Anyway, what we're talking about is what happens if you put a car in the Polytron. And that's a process called homologation. And it derives from this original kind of prohibition vibe that, like, in order to not be a race, a rally car has to look like a car that you could drive, right? Like, not just some racing bullshit. And so FIA gets to set some criteria, like how much a rally car weighs, how big the engine is, and how much it has to resemble like a normal car. How do you decide what a normal car is? By reducing a normal car to a soup-like homogenate. You say you have to make X number of this car per year that you sell to the general public. Usually it's like in the thousands. So that you can't just slap a badge on a race car and say, yeah, this is a road car. We've built 5 of these.
Don't tell McLaren that.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, because it's so easy to cheat, right? Next slide, please. That's a Lancia Stratos. Lancia, like we saw Lancia in the first slide. Lancia is really heavily into rallying, and they're a big enough company, they're a big enough car maker that they could just cheat by, if your definition of a production car is you have to make 3,000 of it, then they'll design the race car that they want to design and then just sell 3,000 of them at a huge loss. And make your dad very nostalgic for the 70s, because you could just walk into a car dealership and buy a race car for very little. And like, they didn't like gussy it up at all. It didn't have a radio. It barely had seatbelts. It didn't have a trunk even. But like,
don't need it.
Yeah, don't need it. That's extra weight. And like, because you're selling them at a loss, it doesn't matter. You're making all of that money back with the prestige from winning rally events. And so you can just like burn money making this fucking cheese wedge, which is a production car. It's homologated. But like, if you're a small company, if you're a small car maker, you can't do that because you can't afford to make 3,000 of your thing.
Didn't Alfa Romeo pull this stunt, or was it? No, it was Lancia, where they were just like, they just lied about how many they had made and just drove them from one place to the other.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of shenanigans you can pull with this shit. I mean,
see, that's what I like. I want shenanigans. It's like the people who figured out an uninflated basketball in a NASCAR gas tank basically worked out, so it looked like they'd have more fuel than like shit like that. Like,
there's a lot of
the best part. The beauty of motorsport is that everybody is trying to cheat all the time, and like you get this like, oh, that's not the honorable way to win. I don't give a shit. Like I want hijinks. I want Scooby Doo level hijinks.
I believe the phrase is, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's absolutely right.
And like, as much as I love the cheating, I slightly prefer the kind of more legitimate thing of like rules lawyering, where you get a bunch of guys to sit down and read the like criteria, and then you say, okay, fine. Legally,
nowhere in it doesn't say a dog.
Yeah, legally, we are allowed to build a race car, and so long as it has the door handles in common with like our regular sedan, it's the same car kind of thing. And like Ford pulled this shit all the time. It rules so much, man. But this is a fairness problem, right? Because eventually, all you can have competing are these kind of things that are race cars anyway, but they're only coming from a couple of manufacturers. They're only coming from basically Audi, BMW, Lancia, and Ford, right? So what do you do if you want to like remedy this? Next slide, please.
I'm just interested here. Can you tell what country this picture was taken in?
I would have to guess America. Let me look back at the train car here. Yeah, no, it still looks like the States to me, but I'm willing to be wrong.
Well, it's weird because it looks like a very European rail car, but the logo here says TFM. That's Transportation Ferroviaria de Mexico.
Huh.
Was thinking Mexico.
Yeah,
it's the red and green.
Yeah, this is now Kansas City Southern de Mexico, which is, a hell of a name.
The thing I can't get over is just how short the damn thing is. It looks like a toy car.
Oh, yeah.
And I adore it. I love this fucking thing. I love the door handles that look like they were glued on. I look like the bodywork looks half glued at, which it probably was.
Yeah. Like, none of this, you couldn't drive this. You couldn't own this because you'd park it once and you'd come back and you'd find like a small rust heap. Like it's designed to do 1 year of rallying and then fall apart instantly. And people bought these to like drive over multiple years.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yes. Yeah, with the gold wheels and everything.
That's the only reason it's still around is because it's in Mexico where there's no snow, except up in the mountains where there is snow.
Mexico. Sometimes there's snow, sometimes there isn't.
And it's similar to many other climates in that respect. But different from others.
So what I've prepared for you is a little mood board, a little smorgasbord of what Pfizer's reaction was. How do we allow small manufacturers to compete? And the answer is we just go back to like the 19th century. We just go ANCAP, no laws, no rules. And we call this Group B. So if you wanted to pass homologation, if you want to make a car, in like the regular group, you'd have to make like 5,000 of a car per year, right? In Group B, you would have to make 200.
Oh yes.
If you wanted to make a new model of a previous car,
how do you have the ability to smoke driving 150 miles an hour on snow? That's the question I have. How are you physically able to even consume nicotine? Like the Swedes have snus for a reason, so you can drive.
Well, that's just Finnish excellence. If you wanted to like do a new iteration of a previous car, you only had to make 20 of them and sell them. And so you could just do anything. They didn't limit the horsepower, which is the other really funny thing. Every other previous rally class had a hard limit on how powerful the engine could be. Group B didn't. And so it starts high and it goes up, and like pretty soon you're at an average of like 550 horsepower, and you're and you're driving this on dirt, right, and gravel and shit. That's in the top right, our Finnish excellence specimen here. That's Timo Salonen. He's been driving for 4 hours flat out. This is probably like the 18th or 19th consecutive time that he's done this, like daily, and he might get like 2 hours rest before doing it all over again.
He looks like Brace Belden.
Yeah, he really does. God. Are we sure that Brace isn't like some kind of like Forrest Gump situation?
Also, the idea of driving with glasses at that speed. No, thank you.
The big aviators like that.
Yeah.
That's what I want, the bubbles glasses while I'm doing 150 on loose pack snow.
Yeah, I just sliding sideways on ice in my dad glasses.
It doesn't actually go straight. It actually only goes sideways.
But like, if I can reference a famous rally quote, good drivers have dead bugs on both windows of the car. Like, you're just sliding through these corners at blisteringly fast. Also, I'm going to do some feminism here on the bottom left. That's Michelle Mouton on the right of that picture, and her co-driver Fabrizia Ponce on the left. Very, very, very fast. Like possibly the best female driver like to date.
Ever.
Yeah, ever. It's very funny how misogynist all of these Finns were, but like in the most 80s sort of way. Were like I think Ari Fatanen, who is like a giant dickhead, by the way, but also a very fast rally driver, said about Michelle Mouton, I will not lose to her. It's not because I don't respect her driving abilities. It's simply that I will not be defeated by a woman. It's just like you could just say that, Jay. You just like, yeah, I don't respect women. It's like awesome.
I have the same amount of contempt for her as I do all other women. Don't worry. I don't have extra contempt for her, but I don't have less contempt either.
And like she beat a lot of guys, and they was very salty about it to this day. The other detail I wanted to point out is if you look at the name tapes on their coveralls, there's a blood group on there. Just so you know that like this is a death-defying occupation. Next slide, please. This is my favorite bit. This is my favorite bit. I got to talk about the spectators. So. You remember how in the
hey idiots?
You remember how in the 19th century, way back, there was just like a horse and a gendarme and a couple of like farmers being like, "Buh." People,
arrêtez-vous.
I was thinking sort of like in the sense that back in the 1900s and earlier, if there was like a battle occurring, a lot of people from the local towns would come out and watch.
Oh yeah,
have a picnic.
Absolutely. And I mean, people don't change, right? So this is what Group B is like: is people on the inside and the outside of a blind corner, like actually getting in the road in front of the cars, trying to touch the cars.
I gotta get the good picture.
You gotta get the good picture. Guys wearing double denim. For a nice day out, imagine being in like the outside of that corner. You stand there in the heat for 4 hours, and every 10 minutes or so, you get hit with a rain of like dust and pebbles that's being kicked up by a car that's going.
See, this is why like the millennial, self-destructive, vaguely suicidal humor is so popular. It's because we don't have opportunities to go out and almost get ourselves killed. On a regular basis.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the opportunity to get waxed on loose pack by a guy doing whatever 150. And me being like, take me now, God, I'm ready.
I just packed this section of the presentation with slides of spectators doing dumb shit. Next slide, please.
Don't turn away from the car.
You're just gonna miss it.
Like,
give
yourself a fighting. Also, like the Bosch logo on one headlight. It has 5. What do you care?
It's too bright. It's too bright. We had to tone it down a bit, so I covered one of the headlights.
It's like Bosch cheaped out. They only paid for the one headlight.
Is this guy in the back wearing a hard hat?
Oh shit! Safety first.
You mean that guy?
Yeah, in the blue hat.
That guy.
Oh, there's 2 of them.
I think that's just a sun hat, is what I think it is.
Huh.
Right now I'm disappointed.
Kind of like the mom jeans on the girl on the left. That's cool to me.
Of course you do.
All these people are wearing very strange hats. Of the people who are wearing strange hats, this hair looks like what mine does right now after having not gotten a haircut in almost a year.
All right, let's go to the next one. We got so many of these.
Yeah.
Just almost wiping out an entire stand of spectators because you like slightly
someone's
misjudged
camera bag is about to get it.
I guess I have this in the notes later, but I may as well tell the finger story, which is I think it was Walter Röhrl this German rally driver who was also another big like I will not lose to Michelle Mouton because she is a woman guy. He finishes a stage and like he checks out the car afterwards, and there's just a guy's finger embedded in the radiator grill because he hadn't hit the guy, right? He'd just been like this, like reaching out in front of it. But he was going fast enough that the car had just whipped the guy's finger off his hand and carried it down the rest of the stage, like wedged in there.
Oh my God. Did they figure out who it was?
I mean, you'd think by this point, after like a few miles of very fast dirt impact, you might not be able to reattach that.
Yeah, but you know, you might want to. I don't know. You might want to say, "Hey, that's my finger right there. That's your property. You probably want to recover that." Regardless.
Our advice, official. Well, there's your problem. Advice: wear a signet ring on every finger all the time.
This is a good
so
point,
if a passing rally car takes your finger off, you will have evidence that it belongs to you. Aside from the missing like finger stump.
This also applies to other members, you know.
Oh yeah,
going to the lost and found, just like guys find a leg.
No, I got this detachable penis.
We got you're detachable.
My signet cock ring.
Well, all right. I'm gonna excuse myself from this podcast while I throw up.
I like the guy just like shaking his fist at it, like you motherfucker.
Oh, it's very. I like the trailer that they're using. I love this.
See, this is the thing. You got a caravan out here. I'm just imagining one car is just going to leap the spectators and crash into the caravan. I've watched enough Top Gear to know that's the only outcome.
I think my other favorite thing about this image, right, is we keep showing Lancia Martini cars, and like that dates it so much because like people drinking martinis or like cocktails with martini in them is the most early 80s vibe I can think of, you know?
Yeah, because it's like the most expensive vermouth you can get, which is
not very good.
No.
It's not. It's vermouth. It's not very good. That's like the point of vermouth.
I know. Pay good money for bad wine.
You pay a lot of money for a bottle of wine that you wave at a glass of vodka once in a while.
Yeah, you don't even use it. You just you just sort of put it near.
I think I have a bottle of Martini Red, like somewhere in the back of a closet. That anytime I want a martini, which is never, I will like bring that out and I will show it to the glass to like threaten it with it.
Reintroduce them.
I used to keep vermouth on hand. I don't do it anymore because I just drink bourbon.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, one more spectator slide. This one's the best one.
Although I guess actually gin is also a drink for adults. So
yeah, but gin hurts my tummy.
Let's check out these guys.
Yeah. Oh, that's not where you want to be when a car is. Yeah,
he's having a great time. You know, look at that guy's expression. He's loving it.
Someone's got to have like ducked underneath a car that was flying through the air trying to get the perfect picture.
You know they did. I like this guy who's shirtless in the back and almost kind of looks like he's trying to bathe himself.
All of the like United Colors of Benetton
and there's
stripes.
A policeman just standing there.
Yeah.
Waiting to yell "Arrêtez-vous" as a guy does 150 into a guidepost.
These guys' cameras collectively cost more than a small house at the time.
Police abolition, except for the cop who like watches a car crash and is like "Arrêtez-vous." That guy can stay.
They did. Yeah. That's the problem.
He's just sitting there. He's like, "It'll be fine." He's smoking a cigarette. You know, he's like, I don't know if I see a black person, I'll do something. But.
So Walter Röll, the I do not respect women guy, said he like somebody asked him about the spectators, and he had the most German answer, which was, "You must think of them as trees." You have to like, you got to pretend they're trees, because if you think of them as people, you're going to panic, flinch, and just kill a bunch of them.
You gotta think of them as
trees. You must think of them as trees.
Perhaps treesus is what I meant there.
Well, I mean, a tree is going to do more damage to your car than a person, so think of it that way.
Next slide, please. So obviously, it's not only the spectators that are the danger. The roads are also incredibly dangerous because they're not really maintained. That's kind of the point.
They're not really roads. Oh my god. Oh no.
Yeah.
No. I was a little behind in the slide that I was sending a text. Just no. No, this is actually I'm happy you found this picture of me and Roz driving through Newfoundland on the bendy bits where Roz in his typical fashion is screaming four left at me.
Someday you are going to break the car.
Didn't break the car. Happy to announce because I drive a GTI, it's obviously, as we know, Audis are just fast Golfs. So this is, as far as I can tell, Roz, happy they got this picture of us. Happy you can't see my face when I'm driving for some reason.
It's just my hand there. Scream. I mean, this is so much like better as a still, because as soon as you like realize that they're going 60, 70 miles an hour minimum.
I know. I'm looking at that bridge, which doesn't look like it should even be physically possible.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
If you're unfamiliar with rally as a concept, a lot of the time the first time they go down the track is the first time they've seen the track.
Some of them.
Do we want to explain rallying notes?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like I mentioned Michel Mouton's co-driver earlier. A co-driver, they sit in the passenger seat and they have like prepared notes of the turns that they will call out so that you can kind of like steer faster than your, visual reaction. Because there'll be a guy or girl, in this case, sitting next to you saying the next one is, say, a medium left, right?
Because you physically can't keep up with the speeds you're going.
Yes.
Yeah. As we'll see, we'll get there in Group B.
That's right. But like this is kind of the salad days, right? Like rallying is very exciting to watch. For the same reason that it's very dangerous. This is the fastest it's ever been. Before this, rallying was kind of like, you drive a Mini Cooper, right? Or like...
Which has 80 horsepower or whatever. Yeah. And while it's fun to drive slow car fast, this is small car fast.
Yeah, you're now driving fast car, very fast. And people get very into it. It's like... this is often called the golden age of rallying. I think perhaps a bit too nostalgically, but I think that's like, you can't really separate the appeal of shaking hands with danger,
I was going to say, I think that's absolutely right.
I got the drop somewhere. Where's my drop?
Shake hands with danger.
I think that's absolutely right. For me personally, like the idea... I think because like so many people watch whatever NASCAR for the crashes or whatever, but like the spectators and sort of being inches from death constantly does make for like very visceral images, as we're going to see in the next slide. But the idea, I think for a lot of people, there's always this complaint. When like the nets went up at baseball games and people would stop getting domed by line drives and people kept pouting about it. Yeah, there is something cool about like you're inches from death and some guy is basically driving over your head at 140 or whatever.
You're a hell of a lot more invested in like his personal skill doing that than you are watching on an in-car camera. Like
it reminds me of the Monty Python Killer Cars sketch.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of, we got to talk about the consequences of what happens when you shake hands with danger. Next slide, please. So, like,
that's not gone well.
We've actually seen on a couple of the spectator slides what this car is supposed to look like. The accident rate goes up catastrophically fast.
I feel like that fan on top of the frame shouldn't be there.
Yeah. The Tour de Corse, the Rally of Corsica, is notoriously dangerous. It's like that was the last slide, I should have said. And it kills this driver, a very talented driver called Attilio Bettega in 85. That's his car. You can see it's just been staved in on the driver's side. His co-driver's fine, like walks away from it. And there's like constant near misses of spectators, like the finger thing, of drivers. And like, as we kind of mentioned when we were looking at Timo Salonen, there's like, safety's not a thing. All of these guys are like one hand on the wheel, cigarette in the other hand, no sleep.
Yes. Probably some cocaine.
Yeah.
So
Look,
their bodies are mostly cocaine at this point.
Not as much as maybe in the early 1900s.
The Ford Works team was running a cocaine smuggling racket on the side because you could pack this shit into the cars and move it all over Europe, which they did very profitably until they got caught. So yeah, I mean,
don't hate the player, hate the game.
That's right. And like, while this is happening, the spectators are still doing their thing. Next slide, please.
The car hits a boulder and all this white powder goes everywhere.
Oh, I don't know how they got there. It wasn't mine. I was just holding it for a friend.
God damn. The car was ballasted with cocaine.
Yeah,
the thing is, for homologation purposes, the production cars were also full of cocaine.
That's just how the 80s were.
Italy is wild.
Oh boy, I just love looking at these. I could do this all day. I mean, the whole shape of the road shifts. So that's my favorite part, is that the notes that the co-driver has are often wrong, because the road that they wrote them up for, it now just has guys on it. And it's just changed the shape. And so I think the consequence here of adding these things together is pretty inevitable. Everybody knew this was an accident waiting to happen. And so Rally of Portugal, 1986, first stage. These are photos, same stage the year before. It's called the Blue Lagoon, this area. It's very, very long, fast straights, as you can see. There's not like a turn here. And also massive crowds. Valterel, the trees guy, just misses somebody. Timo Salonen, the smoking guy, hits a cameraman who goes over the back of the car and survives, by the way.
How?
Good question. I don't know. Maybe the camera took the brunt of it. And both.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and both of them.
Great footage,
yeah.
though.
He was saved by many layers of denim.
What a scoop. And both Salonen and Roll tell the officials, hey, you got to do something about these crowds, man, because I nearly killed somebody. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine.
In true motorsport tradition, they simply keep the race going.
In true motorsport tradition, they do. And Joaquim Santos, he's Portuguese. And, you know, people like a homegrown hero, right? He's probably going to win. Lots of people want to see that. A lot of people want to see that so closely that they run into the road, particularly one guy who runs into the road, and Santos tries to turn to miss him, which actually kind of instinctual, but he really shouldn't have, you know? Because instead of killing that guy, next slide, please.
Oh my God.
Kills 3 people, 2 of them children, injures 32. Like, it just fully oversteers, wipes out a whole row of spectators. And just for like a sort of jarring shift in tone here, I have a long passage to read, which is his co-driver's recollection of this. He says, there is the fastest part of the stage. You come onto a straight, and then you have a right-hand bend, which is very, very fast. It's almost no bend. It's 5th gear, almost maximum. And in training, Joaquim was doing 200 kilometers an hour. It's 124.
125.
Yeah, at that point. After that, you're slowing down for a left-hand bend. The road was completely packed. There were people and people and people. When Joaquin came out of the corner, one guy steps into the tarmac, so he has to make a correction. And when he made the correction and tried to come back to normal, the rear of the car went. He lost it. I have years of experience as a co-driver. I was looking down. You feel things on your back. You don't have to look. You feel the car. I felt the car was not controlled, but I felt it could still be controlled, so I kept looking at the pace notes and reading, and then bump, bump, bump. I didn't see anybody. I didn't see anything because everything was on the left side of the car, but I felt the whack, whack, whack of the car hitting people. They took me and put me in a car. Joaquin couldn't move. He wasn't injured. He just sat in the seat with his head on the wheel. Just grim, you know?
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
And so there's an aftermath here, right? Aside from the immediate carnage. Next slide, please. So next through is this guy, Marc Duez, Belgian, I think. And the procedure, even in 1986, there's not really radio down the length of the track. You don't stop, right, when something like this happens. You drive through to the next checkpoint and you tell the officials, hey, you know, the very bad thing that we all knew was going to happen has happened. And would you believe that the same officials who, on hearing twice earlier in the same day, hey, I almost killed a guy, on hearing, hey, a guy killed a guy, are like, okay, fine, whatever.
Well, he's not going to get any less dead.
That's right, yeah.
Why would we stop the race? He's already
That's
dead.
right. They send 11 more cars past at full speed at 200
That just
kilometers
seems like
an
a
hour
taunt.
before they stop the rally. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's a kind of negligence that you don't like see often outside of the worst industrial accidents that we do here. It's like,
and motorsport.
Yeah. For me, it's like it's up there with Bhopal with a lower death count, just purely because like these guys were working with, all they had to kill people with was, you know, rally cars rather than toxic chemicals. But next slide, please. So now we get into the proletarian characteristics bit of this story.
Computer vision.
Computer vision.
That was in the previous slide show.
Yeah, we love a computer vision and some very 80s hair and mustaches. So Audi and Ford withdraw from the rally, but okay, they stopped that stage after Joaquin Santos killed 3 people. The rally's still going. They're meant to just start on the next one. And the drivers go on strike. They get together in the hotel and they issue this statement that you can see on the right that they're pulling out because it's not safe. I should also point out that they have to smash a dictaphone that a reporter had sneaked into the room where they were doing this.
Oh my god!
Yeah, just
That's a fair response.
Listen,
Yeah.
you think that like motorsport officials and like various Nazi bureaucrats are the worst people in this story? No, it's the motorsport press.
The Car and Driver Rap magazine out here trying to destroy any kind of driver solidarity. It's really just Car magazine at that point.
Car and Driver does rhyme with their Sturmer, so.
And of course, the Nazis are very, very upset with this. There's this feeling that the spectators are uncontrollable, so why bother? And it's like their fault if they get killed. Peugeot's Jean Tut calls the Portuguese spectators Africans with white skin.
My God.
Which is
Jesus
like
Christ, man. Don't be so obvious about it.
A premium kind of Europeanness is when you invent a way to be racist to other white people.
Yeah, and as I feel like Africans would have something to say about Portuguese.
Yeah, no
people.
kidding. Ask Mozambique.
Yeah, or Brazil.
Notably in Africa.
Yeah, the country of
well,
Africa.
with the amount of people they imported.
Oh.
So Pfizer wants to just do collective punishment. Just pull the licenses of every driver who signs this thing. They eventually back down off of that because they kind of realize, hey, we can't run a rally just with scabs. But they just keep moving on to the next rally event with no new safety measures, like, at all.
You get Joey from Porto to just step in and drive the Lancia Stratus.
I'll also point out that Jean-Marie Balestre went on record congratulating the teams who like stayed in after this, because there were a few. Just real bad, you know? The other thing I want to pull out of this is point 3 of this little manifesto here. That the accident wasn't caused by the type of car or the speed of it. And again, my sort of question for discussion here is that true? Because I'm not sure that it is.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that car were going a slower speed. Obviously, you could have, either stopped or swerved less catastrophically, or if it had, better suspension, or if it could have, if you had more control of the vehicle. I think the fact that the spectators were in the road,
yeah.
Like if spectators were not in the road, the accident would not have occurred.
It is a compelling
But
point.
also at the same time, like it's probably not helping.
No,
the speed is not helping their cause here.
No.
Yeah,
caused by and not and made worse by are two separate things.
Yeah, it's exacerbated by the speed and type of car.
But now you can remember the word exacerbated.
Yeah, but the vehicle choice here, I don't think would have mattered too much as long as you're allowing spectators within the confines of the race course.
Well, they're not going to do anything about that, so we're going to talk about the cars a little bit. Next slide, please. So what I've got here is an illustrative slide of tunnel vision, which is a thing that Pfizer found out after the fact is a thing they were giving all of these drivers.
Makes your vision look like San Francisco.
Famously. But like,
worst thing you can think of.
If you look up tunnel vision as like an ophthalmological condition, one of the list of like risk factors or like causative factors is, were you a rally driver between 1980 and 1987? Because the drivers are applying so much horsepower that the cars are, first of all, they're borderline uncontrollable, which is why you can't correct for like a guy in the road. But also, it means you're going so fast that by the time your vision adjusts to one corner, you're already past it. And so it just gives you these like, it gives you tunnel vision. Pfizer, like the investigation after they end Group B, calls these cars too fast to race. Like, you can kind of do it for a while, but it's not possible to do it safely, is what they're suggesting.
Is tunnel vision like a chronic condition, or is it like
I think it's
just something that you experience when you're going that
think
fast
it's
and doing the
something
rally
that
driving?
can recur, but I'm not sure. Maybe you just like you're going about your day and you're like, wait a second, is this San Francisco?
Oh yeah, I mean that's unfortunate. Suddenly you think there's a huge hill you have to climb, even though there isn't. Maybe there's a cable car bearing down on
it. Next slide, please. I put in this slide for Liam. This is where we're going to do the Top Gear stuff, where we talk about how cool cars are. So we're once again back at it with Lancia Martini. This is a Lancia Delta S4. This has, like, depending on who you ask, between 490 and 600 horsepower.
All right, I'm back.
What's up?
You had 600 at the start of the race and 490 at the end.
Yeah.
The other fun thing about the Lancia Delta is this weighs 890 kilograms.
Jesus Christ.
Now, I looked this up for this. The logbook weight of Liam's van is 2,219 kilograms.
I can confirm it was actually heavier than that.
A Ferrari 458. Oh yeah,
There.
a Ferrari 458 sports car weighs 1,565 kilograms. This thing is like maybe, I don't know, 2 and a bit of me heavier than a Formula One car. It weighs
Jesus Christ.
nothing, absolutely nothing. And the way that they get this like thing that is supposed to resemble a road car to weigh that little is remove everything, including like all of the firewall, all of the insulation for the fuel tank, which is under the seats.
Oh, nice.
And this thing is like, it's a monster. Nobody knows how to drive it.
We're talking like when you say the firewall, you mean like the firewall between like the passenger compartment and the engine.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
that's the most incredibly stupid thing I can think of in my entire. Like that is you know this. Okay, so there's one thing race cars do a lot, right? Which is catch fire
Constantly.
right? And you have a fire suit to mitigate this, right? But ideally, you don't catch fire at all. Like, I think one of the things I would prefer to do while driving a race car, which I have done, and I have crashed a race car as well.
all right, you're going to need to tell that story.
But I was on the Drexel University Formula SAE team.
Oh, yeah.
And so, we had the sort of the small, like, university student built race car, sort of like, it's like a bigger go-kart, I guess. It's sort of built along the lines of, there is a formula you have to follow, like Formula One. There's a formula you have to follow, or whatever. It's I don't remember like what the specifics were, but I did get to drive the car once, and I promptly crashed it into a barrier. Screwed up the suspension and a bunch of stuff, but I did not catch fire because the car did not catch fire. And if it had, there was a firewall between me and the engine.
Yeah, but what if there wasn't that? And you were just having to put down 600 horsepower on, gravel, dirts. Apparently, this is the worst on like actual tarmac roads because those don't like. At least a dirt or a gravel road, there's some limiting factor for the speed. If you're driving this on an actual road, you're just it's too fast. It's too fast, and it's like this bomb waiting to go off.
I will say, I just looked at the curb weight of my 2016 Volkswagen GTI, which is about 1,360 kilos curb weight. So I have a tune on it where it makes about 300 horsepower at the wheels. So I'm making less than half of that
for
power.
More than double the weight.
And for about double the weight. And I will say, frankly, like if I put the accelerator down, I can get the traction control light to go on and it will slide. So like the idea of doing that in a car that weighs about half with 3 times as much power, I can't even imagine trying to control
and it's
it.
also
Plus smaller than my GTI too.
And if it crashes, you immediately burst into a fireball.
I will also mention
I am the
now.
crumple zone.
This isn't like the magnesium of Le Mans, but it is made almost entirely out of Kevlar, which is I guess very good if somebody wants to shoot at it. But other than that, so now we have to do another case study in Finnish excellence. Next slide, please. This is Henry Toivonen, and he has to drive this thing in the Tour de Corse the year after it killed Attilio Bettega. He's driven the 17 previous stages, and he has the flu. Like, real bad, actually. He's got a fever.
Does he have a Michael Jordan flu game here?
that's not even the most dangerous thing about the situation. The most dangerous thing about this situation, about Henry Toivonen driving onto stage 18 of the Tour de Course, is that he's winning. In fact, it isn't even close. He's way out in head. He's easily the front runner. And one thing about Rally that isn't necessarily obvious, if you don't know about it, is that like people crash badly when they're winning all the time because it gets a bit psychological.
Yes.
You don't have the like knowledge that somebody's ahead of you. You're not even like chasing anything. You are only racing the clock, and that can really fuck with your head. Also, a couple of other things about Henry Toivonen. He's been having blackouts, and
Not
yeah,
good.
Oh, good.
and he had gone on strike after Portugal, after the Santos crash. And Lancia, along with all of the other like Pfizer bureaucrats, had been furious at him over that. Like, he's on thin fucking ice with this team, which is why he doesn't tell them about the blackouts.
Jesus
He's
Christ.
on record as saying Lancia will not accept anything other than a win. And he's about to give it to them. And so he pulls onto the start of stage 18 and they interview him right before he sets off. And he says, "Today we've driven more than the whole distance of the Finnish National Rally. After 4 hours of driving, it's hard to keep up with the speed. With a modern car like this, it's just impossible to race here. It's physically exhausting and the brains can't keep up with it anymore." So he says that and then he slams the door and he sets off down stage 18. Next slide, please.
Jesus Christ.
Onto this double turn. And I mean,
Oh boy.
it's bad enough when you can see it, right? If I had a way of like applying a tunnel vision filter to this also, probably not great. This is also a really remote part of the stage. The plus side is there's no spectators here.
Small mercies,
Yeah,
I
but the
suppose.
downside is this means he goes off the road. We're never going to know why. But nobody is there to see it when it happens. But he comes off at speed, like a lot of speed, because, you know, it's a fast car. And
Yes.
immediately on impact, the fuel tank under the seats goes up. And the body, you know, Kevlar burns quite well also. So even if he and his co-driver survive the crash, which we don't know, that, you know, they're dead instantly. And the first anyone knows that this is even happening, it's because they're like, hey, our guy's kind of later than we're expecting. And then they just kind of see this black pall of smoke. Next slide, please, for the aftermath of this, which you can see by the time they got to it, it burnt down to the frame.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gone poorly.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this is kind of the gap in this episode, which is like I was not able to figure out exactly what kind of horse trading went on between Pfizer, the car manufacturers, and the drivers. But that's it, right? They cancel Group B because they're not safe to drive around spectators.
Clearly.
They're not safe to drive not around spectators. And for some reason, I don't think that like any of the like manufacturers or even Pfizer were that minded to do this, but something gave here, and I'm still not sure what it was. Maybe it was just the knowledge that like it's pretty clear that like Lancia more or less forced this guy into his death. And it's
Right.
also pretty clear that going in, he kind of knew it.
Yeah, that's very eerie, I guess, in hindsight.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I don't know if that's just like shame finally getting to people who should have been shamed a lot earlier. But yeah, no, they cancel Group B, and along with that, next slide, please. They cancel the even dumber idea. This was their grand plan to replace Group B. It was called Group S. And now we're getting into like Le Mans territory here. This was no homologation whatsoever. You just do whatever you want, and they.
I like it a lot. I think
Yeah.
this is cool.
Yeah.
Car.
They built a handful of prototypes in anticipation for this. This
thing looks fucking insane.
is Audi's.
Yeah.
This is 700 horsepower. Their idea was this was going to go 200 miles an hour on a gravel road.
All right.
I'm not sure how it was supposed to work, but it drives, and you can see it driving, and it hasn't killed anybody. But I think that's largely down to the fact that they did not ever get to race it at a rally championship level.
I added some speed lines.
It needs
so you can
them,
see
yeah.
where it it's going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gorgeous, right? But like,
I know. It's a
at the
good-looking
same
car.
time, I
like that it looks goofy. It looks like a goofy prototype that also could be the most beautiful machine
Mhm.
ever made. I really like that. I like the dumbass headlights.
yeah.
And the scared
I like how,
Nissan 350's Z grill.
It looks very 90s,
Yeah.
like early 90s.
This is
They're not angry headlights, they're just kind of
like,
terrified. Oh my god, a tree! A road!
yeah. This car knows what's coming for it, and it's terrified. No, this is hauntology though. This is what they took from you. Because this is what rallying could have been. You could have seen one of these just kill 50 people every afternoon.
If only the fascists had remained in
Yeah,
charge.
that's right.
Yes.
The rally cars would have run on time. Next slide, please, to show you what we got instead. What we got instead was cursed modernity. Just
Well, at least Toyota has fire coming out of it.
I mean, this is the
It's got
this
side
is the
pipes.
thing, right? This is the successor is Group A, which then became World Rally Car. This is what I think a rally car is. I never really got heavily into the Group B nostalgia just because I'm not old enough, right? Like I played Colin McRae Rally on CD-ROM.
Same here.
Yeah, with the fucking, you drive around in Scotland and the Toyota Celica gets the mud on the nice white paintwork and stuff. It's cool.
For some reason, I imagine their Colin Mockery rally.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work.
Rest in power, Colin McRae. Another warning about helicopters. Do not take luxury helicopters. Don't do it, folks.
Don't do anything with helicopters. Don't fuck with helicopters at all.
It's also really funny as a technological lesson because after they ditched Group B for this new safer Group A, the accident rate went up for a couple of years, but so did the times. The times got faster. But within a year, these Group A cars that were less powerful by design were faster down the same stages than Group B ones, just because the suspension and the brakes and so on had gotten, better. But that power was never coming back, and people get very nostalgic. The drivers get nostalgic for it. It's very funny because people who
that's a hell of a trauma
people
response.
who are terrified of this shit, genuinely,
they had counselors on staff for some of these teams because that's how hard it was to work on.
And people quit. Walter Röhrl said that World Rally Car Group A is for boys, Group B was for men. Which, once again, I do not respect women. And speaking of, Michelle Mouton also quit because she was like, "Yeah, it's not the same sport anymore. I'm not interested in it." And the Group B cars kind of persisted in somewhat safer things like rallycross, where you drive on a circuit, and the Pikes Peak hill climb and stuff. But for actual rally driving, it's it was never going to be like that again. So with that in mind, can we have a look at the next slide, please, for an example of how safety has become ingrained in the culture now, and how the spectators have become totally different.
Really learn to respect these.
Yeah.
That guy drinking
golf.
champagne.
The only thing that's changed is the hats have gotten slightly less denim. Slightly less denim, slightly less.
Yeah, we've gone from denim to t-shirts.
Yeah, that's right. But no, you can.
That one guy's wearing sweatpants,
and you can still find a million photos of spectators like diving in front of cars and stuff. There's still no fences and shit. Nobody cares. Cool. You know. I mean, I suppose it's made Pfizer's argument for them, right, against the drivers, which was like, it doesn't matter about the spectators because there's the cars that are the problem and we change the cars. Now that they have changed the cars, even with the spectators pulling the same shit, it's less deadly now. But I think you kind of need to do both, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of had like one last slide here as like closing thoughts on Group B, such as it was. This is the Audi Quattro, which absolutely dominated. And I kind of wanted to talk about this, about why people get very nostalgic for Group B. And like why I don't, I guess. Because every time one of these gets driven out for anything, people go nuts for it.
Right, yeah.
And I'm just curious whether, like, is it as simple as, like, people like big car what goes fast? Or is it...
I would go with that one. I like a boxy car that goes really fast.
Yeah, exactly. I love my Volvo 850R for that reason.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Same reason I like freight trains.
Yeah, although, like...
It's a big fuck you to aerodynamics.
Yeah, but then the thing is, right, like, if we went back to those, the Group A cars, I probably could have named all four of those off the top of my head. So, you know, what's to say that this is, you know, less iconic for having, you know, not having a boxy shape? I'm kind of torn, right, between whether it's a genuine aspect of
Shake hands with danger.
or whether it's also just like a timeliness thing, like people remember it fondly because they were young when it was a thing, you know?
Right.
And I guess that I leave that as an open question, along with the question, like, can motorsport be safe and should it?
I mean, I think the thing with Group B is that it's, you know, sort of a larger than life thing. Like even like at the time, I'm sure at the time, you know, I think Group B, this is, you know, it's a racing league, whatever, right? But once it was so dangerous, it had to be banned. It acquired a
that's
mystique,
a huge mistake.
you know? Yeah, it's like everyone who competed in a Group B rally is a character in a Hemingway novel. You know, including the misogyny, obviously.
I think that's absolutely right. That there's this sort of the knowledge that this can sort of never be done again. I think adds a huge, air of mystique to it. That they'll just never be able to do what they did then. And this idea that just everything has sort of gotten worse.
Yeah, this sort of legendary mythic thing. It's funny, like after Michelle Mouton quit, like I don't think there's been a female rally driver professionally since. Possibly because all of the dudes are like, still, I do not respect women. But like, yeah, no, it's I don't know. All of this is like passed into legend now. And I guess. I guess what part of what makes it a sport still, from like the days of crashing into horses and stuff to now, is that element of danger.
What was it? Hemingway said there are only two sports, and it's like racing and bullfighting.
Yeah, I think the problem was Group.
Everything else is a game.
The problem is Group B started to become too much like bullfighting.
Yeah,
exactly right. You know, you're killing all these poor defenseless cars. I think we had to boycott it ethically.
Well, that's all I had. That was my episode on Group B Rally Sport. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have anything else any like closing notes, then please.
I do, but they're about shirts. We are good. Check the. I just wanted to make an announcement. Check the well, there's your problem email. I'm good on them. So
All right. Excellent.
great job,
Thank you.
Alice.
Yeah, good episode. Next bonus episode will be on the steam locomotive.
Ooh.
Can't wait for that one. That'll be weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll show you all kinds of bullshit. We'll show you stack swindles. We'll show you the worst mechanical ideas anyone's ever thought of. We'll show you maybe a couple things that were good, but I want to pull out all the stops and show all the worst stuff I can think of.
Can't wait. That'll be good.
You want to hear about men in asbestos suits descending in to clean lit fireboxes? You'll have that.
Just wanted to thank you if you are a patron and
thank
donated
you.
for this one. And if you stole it, please don't post the link in the preview
Yeah.
video.
Just share
Yes.
it amongst yourselves if you want, but like, please don't in the comments. It's
Don't post it in the comments. People should have to put in at least 4 or 5 minutes of work to steal the bonus episode.
Well, bye everybody.
Everybody.
Auf Wiedersehen.
All right.
All right.
So
It was a good
Thank you.
episode.
that was
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's
fun.
fun doing this.
Yeah. Big car, go fast.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
So
Vroom.
shirts.
Sure. Shirts.